All right. So, like I said last week, you have all the stuff that we have in the community. You're all adults. It's all self-study. Okay. When we meet on Tuesdays, the whole issue here is to go over anything that you're having a problem with, anything that you're stuck with, so that, for lack of a better term, we can group think, brainstorm, overcome those issues. As a tech founder for the last 3 years, and then I did this 10 years ago, one of the real pain in the asses is trying to do this all by yourself. Okay, having somebody to talk to, bounce an idea off, having somebody tell you that's a great idea, or more importantly, for someone to tell you that's a stupid idea, do something else. Please, for the love of God, pivot. It is a lot of times what you need to hear, so you don't go down a rabbit hole, and just because it's your idea doesn't mean it's a good idea. So, yes?
Actually, the other question, I was curious, it was about the incorporation side of things. I've already incorporated as an LLC.
Yep.
But I've always heard that you don't really, the natural progression of things, unless you have a very solid, kind of existing, robust business, is to go usually LLC, maybe S Corp if there's the right returns, and then transition to C Corp when you hit, a certain, 100,000, whatever nominally. It was interesting because maybe I just misheard it, but they basically made it seem like filing a C Corp, incorporating as a C Corp was cheaper than an LLC. Is that just because of the...
So a couple of things on that real quick. So I have an accounting degree, okay? I am a recovering accountant myself, and you're right. When you're taught traditional business, it's like, okay, get all your tax benefits, you're bootstrapping this from the very beginning, you're putting your own money in. Your first year that you have your business, you're going to be losing a ton of money, you're going to be having a regular W-2 job, and if I have an LLC or an S Corp, I can take the losses in my business, apply it against my business, and it's got the best tax effect. And that's been the way it's existed since they've had tax laws. However, now with technology and going after money, trying to raise money, trying to get people to do stuff, the big issue is I want proof of ownership. I want to be able to say, hey, I got a stock certificate that says I own X. Or I have an agreement, like safe agreements or convertible notes, that say that once your business starts to scale and do well, I have a legal right to say I own X amount of Apple,
Google.
So it's
fundraising side.
It's fundraising side.
Okay.
If you have no desire to ever raise money, and you're like, I'm going to bootstrap this, I got a good job, I got a good savings, I got friends and family, I got the rich uncle who's going to write me a check, by all means, LLC it until the day you die, okay? But if you're somebody that's like, hey, I want to be able to talk to DC, I want to be able to talk to angel investors, I want to be able to write safe agreements, so on and so forth, C Corp, there are literally, out of the 110 or so VC firms I have talked to over the last 3 years, and Eric, who's here today, that is one of my folks on the board at Tax Titans, can tell you, first question is like, oh, well, how are you legally formed? Oh, well, I'm an LLC. Okay, thank you very much. Email, delete, boom, gone. Yeah, because they're like, yeah, the legal structure and stuff doesn't work for us. Understand anybody who's running a VC that you go to go get money from, they have investors. Those investors are called LPs, limited partners, and those limited partners go, hey, I've got money, I don't know what I'm doing, you're going to do this actively, here's my money, go find the investment stuff. So, does that answer
Yes,
that
that's
question?
right.
Yeah, because when I started Tax Titans 3 years ago, I was like, oh, I'm just going to file it as an LLC. It's real simple, stuff like
You
that.
can always convert, correct?
Yeah. You can always convert, depending on where you are, depends on how much of a pain in the ass it's going to be. But if you haven't checked it out, Stripe Atlas for $500 basically allows you to file a C Corp in Delaware. Okay, so literally Stripe Atlas is like, I went through it. I did the first one as an LLC, Tax Titans. We did the C Corp for Secondhand Geek. That's the one that Jason Calacanis invested in with Launch VC. And then Replay Coaching, the one that I've currently done with Replay Coaching, it was literally went to Stripe Atlas because I learned about it when I was going through Founder University. And it was literally plug, play, answer this question, okay. the 89 whatever for my founder's share, okay, did debt designation, did all the stuff, $500, boom, and I was like, okay, here's your incorporation in Delaware, here's all your documents. I was like, went to the bank, let me open a bank account. I'm like, I guess this stuff works. So.
Yeah, that's the key. Don't, if there's levels, buy the level that has the stamp and the documentation, because you can't open up a bank account without that.
Yes, I'll do.
Yeah, so mine's currently an LLC, domestic in South Carolina. So when I do go to Stripe Atlas, would I need to go back to the Secretary of State and like change to a foreign?
No, so well, for state of South Carolina, you'll just register it as well within the state of South Carolina. My advice to you, if you're changing your name or if the name of whatever the legal entity isn't like, you know, a religious thing that you've got going, just make it a different name than the thing that you've already gotten the LLC for, and that way you can go, you can just dissolve the LLC if you want. You can keep it, and then you could also have your C corp. Okay. That's one of the issues. I'm actually going through a lawsuit now with the whole Tax Titans LLC with one of my former co-founders. So we have the Tax Titans C corp, the Tax Titans LLC, and it's just a mess.
But I think to be clear too, you're saying that you're creating another entity that has a different tax ID.
Correct.
Because
Yes.
you're not converting, if that's what I was kind of.
Correct. You're not converting. So.
Okay.
And a lot of time. Yes.
The experiment.
Go ahead.
Guys, so we're having some challenges with the AV tech in this place. So with the workaround, what we're trying to do is get the virtual participants to be able to pitch to us, and you can see them on screen and all that. The workaround we have is we want everyone here and the virtual guys who will be in on the Zoom session. So if you go to Circle, you go to the virtual events, you click in, and just let it sit there and run in the background while you're hanging out live, so we can get everyone all in the same space while we go through the program.
Recording in progress.
So you want some of those?
Yeah, which one is it?
Circle does have desktop activation, by the way.
Yeah.
So Blake, how was the opportunity
Good question, Oliver.
Good question. So.
We only have until 9.
So,
Thank you.
So real quick and dirty, the bill that went through Congress that established the opportunity zones. Opportunity zones say that if you own the real estate or you own an opportunity zone certified business in an opportunity zone, and you sell that business after it's been there for 10 years and it's had 10 years of compliance, you pay 0 capital gains tax on the sale of the business. For instance, Tax Titans. I had an idea, it's worth 0. 10 years down the line, I sell it for $100 million to H&R Block, God willing. And then I would have to pay $100 million on capital gains tax. If I had it in an opportunity zone during that period of time, I would pay 0. That's the down and dirty, okay? We have an Ignite program with what we're doing at the Launchpad that we'll probably get into like week 4 or 5. But yes, if you're somebody that's like, hey, I know I'm doing this, I'm making this company, you know, nothing has stopped me, I live here in Greenville, you don't necessarily have to live in Greenville, and I want to be part of the opportunity zone, talk to me afterwards, or William and stuff like that. We can start getting you set up so you become a qualified opportunity certified business, because Nelson Mullins is here. I'm not a fan, I know you're not either. They've had a change in management, it's the best way I was going to put it for you. They make it so that all the certifications and stuff are there. So. All right, so before we get...
That is a big damn deal, so let me reinforce that.
So this
That
is John, who's one of our new guys.
You make an investment in a piece of real estate, and it's worth 2x, 3x what it was 2 years from now. Not paying capital gains is one thing. You invest in a business that's worth 10x or 20x or 30x what it was, and you don't pay capital gains, that's a big deal.
Yep.
That's a big, huge deal. And for there to be an opportunity zone where your incubator is located in Greenville, South Carolina, is amazing. Because you wouldn't think that it would be on the periphery of downtown like that, but it is.
Not only that, but Nelson Mullins and the IRS, we have found out, I can have companies that are tech related that meet certain requirements be located anywhere in the United States, have their headquarters there. And they're in Silicon Valley, Atlanta, or New York, and they get the same opportunities and benefits. So that literally has now thrown the flag up about Greenville, South Carolina, because according to Morris Manning and Martin and John Yates and his team down in Atlanta before he went to Gunderson, we are the only people in the entire United States with all the opportunity zones that has figured out a way and a format to do that. And that's it.
Recording in progress.
Are you all set there?
Turn off your audio.
Everybody turn your audios off. All right, so before we get going, I want to... Power!
You gotta turn off the mics and text.
Turn off your mic.
Is there a mic on in the room?
Is this where Skynet is breaking in and taking over?
Yes.
I'm a digital hologram. It's a scary thought. All right, so before we get going, I want to introduce Bart, who is the manager for Trilliant here in Greenville, and has been kind enough and gracious enough to let us use this space over the last 12 weeks. Bart, it's all yours.
All right, well, just thank you very much. Most of y'all met me last time around. I just want to say welcome. Glad to have you. I don't want the back of my head on the screen for everybody, so we'll kind of stay this way. Anyway, just welcome. We're glad to have you. It's a beautiful space. We hope you enjoy it. I take absolutely no responsibility for the tech. That's where my piece of the puzzle comes in. I know the building, not the tech. So you guys are the geniuses on that side of the world. But best of luck to everybody. If you ever have questions or need anything, I'm a resource. So I'm just happy to be here, happy to help out. In fact, the relationship here was one of, hey, I'm a resource, and Blake said, I'll take that. So if you ever need anything, please feel free. Housekeeping for anybody who's new, facilities, if you need them, are on the back side of this wall. So just on the back corner over there. Help yourself to all the coffee, the waters that you need, and we're just glad to have you. So welcome, everybody.
Thank you so much, Bart.
All right, so before we get rolling today, I'm going to have everybody one at a time stand up. You're going to give me a 30-second pitch of who you are and what you're looking for. Andrew, you're up.
My name is Andrew Farrell. I'm the founder of Locker Room, and we help high school coaches win more. Essentially, we give them the tools they need, better performance analytics, better time-saving tools, and better money-saving tools. We're looking for not only technical support, but for people with contacts and connections to high school coaches.
Thank you.
Very good.
Joey, you're up.
Joey Lowen with Synergy Mill Fab Lab. We are setting up to be a business incubator similar to what the Launchpad is. And I'm looking for sponsors and people who are investors that are looking for small companies that build actual things, actual products. And that's what I'm looking for.
Hello, my name is Oliver Lawless. I'm starting an heirloom app, an app that allows families to preserve their legacies digitally, and it is a way to gamify your legacy, essentially. So I am looking for a good place to develop the idea, turn it into reality, and create a business to help people preserve their legacies forever.
I was just going to say, I'll make one amendment. If you have an extra metal locker, don't ask me why, I'll explain later, but if you have an extra metal locker, I will buy it from you. That's what I'm actually
I have 6 of them getting rid of from closing the fencing school. See me after.
All right.
See? Ask, receive.
I'm Blake Hawkey, I'm with Secondhand Geek. We are an alternative website that tries to combine both the content of everything to do with miniature wargaming and the eBay, replace eBay marketplace side of it. Our focus is specifically for miniature war games, and to have features on there that only a miniature wargamer would appreciate. We are looking for if you are buying your stuff, you're selling your stuff, we'd like you to give us a try. And we're also looking for any folks who would contribute to develop all these features that we want to have on our website.
Chad Hensel with JobCraft. Basically, we help people that are looking for a job practice interviews on demand, whether that be just a list of questions, a phone call, or a video conference. That way, when you do show up for the interview, you've had 20 chances. It's muscle memory at that point, and you're just ready to rock out. I'm looking for technical help, a little bit of seed money.
Tom Brown with PMI Compliant. We provide healthcare professional staffing agencies and hospitals with better credentialing and compliance management. Currently looking to, since we have 3 different distinct markets within that one product, looking for a good go-to-market strategy and also connections within the healthcare space, healthcare recruiting specifically.
I'm AJ Cherian. I'm building Catalead. It's an end-to-end lead generation platform that's meant to be plug and play. I'm looking for a technical co-founder and to build the product from concept to reality, and some seed money and go-to-market strategy and the whole line. So.
Eric Stylo, I work with Blake on a number of different things, and essentially what we're looking at doing is buying mom and pop smaller accounting firms and rolling them up through a virtual strategy, a regional corporation, and outsourcing that overseas. Essentially what we're trying to do is not just build a product, but gather a bunch of different products together to solve this problem and interface them together. So what am I looking forward to get out of this is, number one, give Blake some feedback on this format, but number two, also giving me good reasons of why we shouldn't do this idea, so before we go down the path of investing in it. So,
Blue Arena, I don't know what I want to do. That's simple.
That's why you're here.
That's why I'm here. I'm really an ops guy, an IT guy. I'm looking to help mentor people, help you guys with your IT for your ideas. I have ideas, I have an app. He's ready to beat the shit out of me for not going outside of the company. I'll just do it myself. I have a very unique app to the tax world. That's why I'm going to talk to Eric. And he was wrong with what he said. He needs a product to manage all those other products. Right. Okay, so that's where my knowledge comes in. I can take any idea or any problem and I can automate it very quickly, stream it. You know, I can insult you, you laugh when I insult you. I like your idea actually a lot. So I'll insult Joe instead. But I'm very good at managing, and that's I'm chief operating officer of the CIO, CTO. So that's what I'm doing, and I'll figure out what. And as my motto says, I will work for money.
So I'm Cassandra Ledford. I'm the founder of Swizzle, which is a platform that helps you make meaningful connections and manage them with confidence. In other words, it is a digital upgrade for word of mouth. What I'm looking for is early adopters, specifically to be able to do some user research, get some feedback. I am also looking for a co-founder and a CEO, COO operations capacity. So if you know anyone, would love to meet with them and chat.
Did she just start doing me?
Yep.
He works for money. I'm Greg Kay with K2 Advisors Group. My background is a couple decades of banking and leading companies. So my goal here is just to help advise and mentor for anyone that needs it. Thank you.
All right. My name is Jeff Crump, building an app called GeoPlayer. Whether it's tabletop, RPG, TCG players that are looking for tournaments, want to build a community, it's all going to be on the app. And basically, I'm just here to learn and connect with some people and gain some knowledge and some ideas for the business.
Hi, good morning. My name is LJ. I'm a founder of QuillNote. We're improving education. We're helping universities retain students by using an assessment platform so that math students are not anxious to get help and the teachers can help the students. Right now, I'm looking for some technical help. I have some pilots ready for the fall, but I need to update the prototype. And if you guys know of any math teachers at colleges and universities, I'd love to get in touch with them and just do some customer discovery.
William.
I'm William Taylor. What I want to get out of this is learning what you guys want. I know how this works in Silicon Valley. I know how it works in New York. I'm learning what it is what Greenville founders need and what Greenville founders are looking for. It's probably different. So that's the reason why I'm here. It's really to learn what it is you guys need and what we need to do to see this kind of community here in Greenville.
So, and on that note, real quick, so, one of the things that I've heard a lot in Greenville over the last 3 years that I've been in this space, oh my God, we can't do it like Silicon Valley. We can't replicate Silicon Valley. People in Silicon Valley won't know what we're doing. I'll never get at that exposure. That man right there is literally a phone call from one of the billionaires, Jason Calacanis, that can listen to anybody's idea. Okay, and if you don't believe me, you can go to YouTube, search This Week in Startups, search Al Lakeboro, and you'll see me pitching Jason Calacanis personally about Secondhand Geek and him writing me a check. That was only made possible because him. It was literally, I knew him, he recommended me to Founder University. They took a look at my idea, they let me go through. I had to do the work, just like you guys have to do the work. Once I did the work, they were like, great, you can do the work, you will get it done, we will make an investment. The thing we're talking about today is funding. There are people out there who have made lots of money in whatever it is they do in the world. And they want their money to make them more money. And instead of it doing passively, they want to be aggressive and they want to roll the dice, so to speak. Go to the craps table, whatever you want to call it. And the best thing you can invest in is other people, to what John was telling me earlier today, who know your industry and what you're doing. Okay? They're retired. They want to watch their money make money. You're the young guns. I'm not the young gun, but I'm ornery. And from that aspect, they're willing to make that investment in you because they know you're going to take that idea that you're so passionate about. And if it works and it can be funded and it scales, then they benefit. They just don't want to do all the work. That's great. You're sitting here going, I'm willing to do the work. I just need some help. I need someone to invest in me. Whether it be knowledge, an introduction, or, as Lewis said, I work for money. Okay? Basically, you're looking to people going, hey, will somebody support me, kind of like if you went off to college and your parents supported you, to build that company. So, all right. Sorry, yes.
Just real quick, I was going to add, I literally got off the phone last week with someone that's got a Silicon Valley startup, and he said verbatim, the last place on earth to start a tech company is Greenville, South Carolina. So we have to change that, because I hated hearing that.
Welcome to
Right.
we're changing.
And that's the thing. So if that is the perception that's out there, everything that everyone in this room does that changes that, we literally are the same story that every startup does. Every startup is a disruptor. You're taking somebody else's cheese. Somebody else is making money doing it a way that you're changing. And every time that you make that change, that makes everybody focus on what you're doing. Collectively, the more of us that are doing that in Greenville, the more people go, wow, there is a great waterfall and there is a nice bridge. And guess what? I can have a startup actually be successful.
In an opportunity zone.
In an opportunity zone.
Yeah, this part we're talking about today, fundraising, bootstrapping, this is the stuff I could talk about for, this could be a multi-day course where I just talk nonstop. But there's always a large disconnect, and especially seeing in Greenville between founders and investors. Everybody thinks like, oh, well, my idea is going to be worth $1 billion someday. I should be charging $1 billion for it now, those kind of things. I'm getting ripped off if I sell equity too cheap. Investors are investing today in something that will happen 10 years from now, maybe, and they're looking for a discount on that 10 years from now business. So that is the thing you gotta keep in mind. It is a good deal for everybody. 70% of $100 million or $1 billion companies, way better than 100% of a $10,000 or $0 company. But yeah, that's what investors are doing right now. Is they are trying to invest at a discount today on something that may happen many years down the line.
All right.
Hey, my name is Archie Valdez. I'm the co-founder of Rooms. So my whole thing is I want to bring families and friends together. I want to bring 5-year-old to play games with their grandparents. Not a challenge, of course it is. Making video games a challenge, of course it is. Me being here a challenge, of course it is. I don't want to be here, I'm an introvert. But the whole thing is like, I want to get out of this. I want to meet great people, people like Williams, like Blake, they're helping, you know, the new generation. I also want to, of course, raise some funding, but I want to do it the right way. And since I don't know how to do it the wrong way or the right way, that's the issue.
Thank you. John, last but not least.
My name's John Warner. I've been in Greenville 43 years, so I'm kind of an inverse of this gentleman. He can connect you to Silicon Valley. I know Joey and I have been buddies for a long time. I know a lot about Greenville and upstate for a lot of people. I think as y'all are thinking about what you're doing, you know, you need to, you're creating a marketing plan for your product or service, but you also need to think about marketing your business. Right? You're going to be raising money from an investor. The best thing would be if you never needed an outside investor. If the business could just cash flow itself, that's the best thing. But if you're going to then begin to raise outside investors, if you raise money from people locally, that is a very different proposition than talking to somebody in Silicon Valley. That person in Silicon Valley is interested when this is going to be a unicorn worth $1 billion. Now, they might be looking 10 years from now. There are investors in Greenville, you tell them you're going to be worth $1 billion, and that's the last conversation you'll have with them. You know, they're looking for you to be small and profitable and consistently growing, and that's great. You know, that's their model and that's what they do, but that ain't going to work in San Francisco. So you need to kind of think about what your vision is, what is it you're trying to accomplish, you know, and put your business together, not only to market it to your consumers, but customers, but also, you know, to the investment community that you're trying to tap into. And, you know, I've done some things that were really successful, and I've had some things blow up on the pad too. So, you know, if we find somebody I think I can help, I'd love to try to help you navigate that.
Thank you. Okay, so we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of today, which is basically funding. How do I take my idea? How do I pay the bills? How do I put groceries on the table? And what does that look like for each individual? Everybody's got different commitments. People are retired. People are out of school. People are married. People got kids. Some don't have kids. You know, it runs the gamut. Okay. Now, the best tool I'm going to talk about that I have learned over the last 3 years is how many people know what Loom is? Raise your hand. Okay. So Loom, okay, is a video platform that you can use for free, and you can do stuff with it. And I got introduced to it through Founder University. It allows you to take your screen, video, and it's an asymmetrical video feedback tool. So, for instance, I will do this real quick. See that?
Welcome to Secondhand Geek, the one tabletop marketplace to rule them all. Meet Henry Cavill, Superman, Witcher. He wants a new 40K army for his next tournament, so he goes over to Secondhand Geek and sells his old army. Finds all the new units for his new army, connects with the painter, and gets it all painted before the next tournament, all in 1 second. Henry is like millions of other tabletop gamers worldwide who are tired of going to dozens of websites, forums, and trade groups to find all of their tabletop gaming products and services. Our platform charges a 5% fee for all products and services sold. Over the last 10 years, we've built Facebook trade groups with 16,000 members who've traded about $5 million annually with about 200,000 transactions. We've added 194 people to our platform in the last 60 days who have placed $8,000 worth of inventory on our platform. And we've done 38 transactions and made $62. We are using Facebook groups, gaming stores, and podcasts to go to market. The average gaming purchase is about $40. eBay does about 312 million transactions each year, so our TAM is about 12 million.
Okay, so everybody gets the idea. So Loom allows me to have a conversation. Now the important thing is I can take this, I then send it to a possible investor. Over here on the right, This is my conversation with the folks at Founder University who run Launch VC. Kelly Strickler, who I and Abe have interacted with, runs the program. And she was like, great, I have this question, I have that question. And what about this number and that number, and so on and so forth. And I'm doing that, and she's giving me that information without me having to be on the phone with her, because it's asymmetrical. And the nice thing is because I have this, I could take the conversation of 100 different VC folks, or angel investors, or friends and family, and I have a complete record of every objection, everything that they've asked for, everything they've looked for, so that eventually, if I'm trying to raise outside money, I can have all those questions answered. In addition to that, they help basically plug the holes in everything that I'm thinking about for my company, okay? So Loom for me is kind of like the best tool for me to actually put it in the hands of individuals, okay? Now, we're gonna talk about a couple of topics here, okay? So it was brought up earlier from Andrew. My legal structure, how do I wanna raise money? So you as an individual, okay, and me as an recovering accountant, I'm gonna say, okay, take a look at the next 3 years of what you want to do with your company. How much time do you gonna put into it? How much money do you need? What are your expenses going to be? How many people here know what a pro forma statement is? Raise your hand. Okay, all right. So all of you founders that don't know what a pro forma statement is. A pro forma statement is a make-believe fairy tale, okay? It is for you to sit there and go, when I dream at night, what do I see the world looking like? How many people are going to use my product or service? How many people are going to pay me money? How much are they going to pay me? What is it going to cost me? How many people are working in my office? How many working in my big building that I have that I'm renting and paying money for? And you go and you list everything that you're spending a nickel, dime, quarter for. And then you go and you put down how much money you're bringing in, and you see if you have a positive number or a negative number. Okay? If it's a negative number, you're charging the wrong amount for your service. If it's a positive number, great. Because that, when you go to ask somebody for some money, is what they're going to want to see. There are tons of different free sites for you to be able to build performance statements, okay? If you want to get and do it yourself and you don't want to use any outside service, then just use an Excel spreadsheet, okay? Work with somebody that says, hey, this is what, I'm thinking, tell me what I'm missing, okay? So homework between now and next week is everybody who has got an app, a company, a product or service that's in this class, you need to submit whatever you think is your performance statement to me by next Monday. And it could be as simple as, I'm gonna serve 100 people and charge them $1,000 a piece, and I'm gonna pay me $50,000. Okay. As rude as that is, that's a performance statement. Okay? You could go as deep into the woods of, I'm going to pay for a subscription to Loom, to Zoom, to Microsoft. I'm going to pay rent. I'm going to get, chauffeured meals, everything down there, and I'm going to charge, I'm going to have 9 different, items that I'm going to charge on my website for this service and that service, and it's all going to, as detailed as you want to get, but you have to get into the habit of making and adjusting those statements, because you're going to walk into a room, and whether it's somebody giving you a check for $5,000 or somebody giving you a check for $500,000, they're going to take a look at those numbers that you got, and they're going to ask you to justify it. Okay? Now, that's people that go, you know what, I don't want to do that, I don't want to go raise money. Okay? In the world, we call that bootstrapping. Okay? Basically, all bootstrapping says is everything's coming out of your own pocket. Okay? MailChimp, perfect example. Bootstrap company. Exit, $13 billion. All that money was there. Okay? Then if you look on LinkedIn, you see all the horror stories of guys that, hey, I raised $4 million for my startup. I ran it for 4 years, and then I had an exit, and I got $0. You're like, how the hell do you sell something for $100 million and you walk away with $0? Okay? There are all types of things that you're going to learn about raising money, whether it's preferred stock, common stock, safe agreement, convertible loan. I knew none of these things 3 years ago. Okay? You want to talk about drinking from a fire hose and feeling like a freaking idiot. Okay? I am the dumbest guy in the room, and I have an accounting degree. Okay? So from that aspect, okay, when you go and you're sitting across from somebody that can literally write you that $5 million check out of their petty cash fund, okay, know the things that they're talking about. Know what they're going to be asking. Be ready for that. And don't be afraid to say, I don't know, but I'll get you that number. Better that you look at that person and say, I don't know, but I'll get the answer to you, than for you to sit there and lie your ass off. Because I'm going to tell you right now, they are going to dig into your numbers, they are going to call it out, they're going to find out that you lied about the numbers, and you're going to get ghosted, and you're never going to get a dime from them. Okay? Better that you're honest with the people that you're going into bed with, that are writing you that check, because if you look at them and say, I don't know, but if that information is important to you, I will go find it and I will give it back to you. That shows them what you're going to do also as not only someone that they're investing in, but also hopefully the customers that you're serving. Okay? So on bootstrapping, okay, and the whole reason for that performance statement is how much money is it going to cost you to build what you're doing? My experience, whatever you think it's going to cost you to build your tech platform, double it. Okay? If, no disrespect to the folks in the, Central America, India, or the Philippines, but if you're dealing with outside developers, definitely double it, because this is one of the things that happens. You pay someone to develop it, something goes wrong, you can't take it like a used car and then bring it to another mechanic and have them work on it. Whoever you bring that new platform to, they're going to go, that was nice, scrap it, it's no good. And they're going to rebuild it again from scratch. Okay? Dan Rundle, who's not here, who's one of the partners of Launchpad, can tell you that that's literally 90% of his customers. Okay? For the IT people that are in here, they're all nodding their heads. It's literally, it happens all the time. All right, does anybody have any questions on bootstrapping? Okay, it's your W-2, it's your investment in your money, it's how much you want to spend, or your significant other wants to allow you to spend, to make that happen. Okay.
Is there like a general number for like that's worthwhile to charge for like a standard app?
So the answer used to be no, but now they have Venture Studio. And the Venture Studio that they have now is based on my whole experience of starting with them 3 years ago and me going to Dan, hey, you do things in Greenville a certain way, there's a thing called the Venture Studio that exists in the rest of the world. You need to start implementing that. And he was like, okay. So for them, the most it is to build kind of the MVP, is about 120 grand. Okay, that can mitigate down. I think the lowest is about 75 grand. Okay, now with AI, and Dan would like punch me in the face for saying this. There's enough AI apps for you to actually get a working platform out there to get a waiting list of people who want to actually use a platform. You can probably do 10 grand or less. And how that usually works is you go through AI, you get something that functions and works, and then you hire a known source or known developer to be able to run through the code, make sure that it kind of needs to be edited. Think about going to an editor and having a work of fiction, and you're like, all right, proofread this. It's the same thing now. Okay? Yes?
So to give you an idea of that, that's a fantastic price, 150K. So I have my app, okay? I've been developing for 21 years. My boss is now outsourcing to Latin America, okay? And they built a mobile app. And it was just not really my app, but it interfaced with my app. My boss wants them to rewrite my app, which I always giggle about, like, good luck, enjoy it. But he's getting the bills from this company. If it takes them a year to build a piece of shit compared to what I have, it's gonna be 500,000. Because they could be cheaper. You know, like a person in America could be $100 an hour, they have 45, 50 an hour. They will take 2 weeks to do something that the person here could do in 2 days.
Yeah.
And then there's all that time frame differences, the problems, all of that stuff.
What's the communication? That's
Which
the
is-
hard part.
which
That's
is- well,
like
they
if
speak good English, but they don't.
But
you know.
if it's in, for example, at different times, like if it's not Latin American, and you're up until 3 a.m. telling you exactly
Mhm.
what to do.
And on that note,
That's what
when
it
you're raising funds, okay, and this has been my experience, raise funds that have a purpose, okay? So if I'm going to raise funds and I'm looking to raise $100,000, I just can't take $100,000 out of my butt. I need to be able to take a look at an investor, and this is part of the pro forma statement, and say, you give me 100 grand, and this is exactly every nickel, dime, quarter where that 100 grand is going. Okay? People are more inclined to write you a check, providing they know that use of funds and where it's supposed to go. So your ability to make a performance statement, have a budget, adhere to the budget, everybody understand things change, but have a plan. Okay? People are taking their money and they're entrusting it you. Whether they're entrusting it with you to make a company that's giving them a good return, or they're going to Vegas and they count cards, it's kind of the same. Yes?
Yeah, this is a good point that a lot of people miss. There are two sides of this. You guys as founders are going to be looking at this and going, it costs this much money to build this company. So you might go to an investor and be like, look, for $5 million, I can get this thing off the ground and running tomorrow. And like, yeah, I'd like to do that with every company, right? But are you worth $5 million right now? If I give you $5 million, am I essentially like buying your company 3 times? You know what I mean? So you have to look at it both ways. You have to look at it and say like, how much does it cost to get this going? But then also, how much of the company do I want to sell? And what am I selling? How much am I selling it for? So keep in mind, you have to have both sides of that worked out.
Yep.
Do the investors look at it like, this is better, but, so someone has a great idea.
Yep.
You know, he's got a great idea, he's
Yep.
got a great idea. They could build the app, but they have no clue on how to actually get it out there and let people do it. So the investors, they're not only investing money, but they'll say, this person you have to have this person working with you.
Yep. So when we get to the point where we're making the slide decks, okay, there's usually when you go and you're pitching your new idea and you're trying to get that first check for $5,000, $5,000, or $10,000, whether it be from an angel investor or your rich uncle or somebody that believes in you. Certain things are, okay, you have the greatest idea in the world, but how are you going to put it in the hands of the people that use it? Then we commonly refer to that as the go-to-market strategy, okay? And even that has its own thing. It's like, with tax tightness, it's like everybody pays taxes. So I literally started 3 years ago and going, oh, this is easy. I'm going to make this, everybody pays taxes, so everybody uses my app. But getting people to actually use it and converting, that's a whole nother step in the process. So when you're talking with investors, you're trying to get somebody to see your vision. You not only need to communicate, hey, this is what my app does, but you need to take them down that fairy tale story of how does Little Red Riding Hood get into the bed, okay? You're like, okay, how do I go and get my idea in the hands of the ideal customer? How does the ideal customer use it? And how do they then turn around and convince somebody else to use it? Because then you want it like the Brett commercial. For those of you who are old like me, it's like, and she told 2 friends, and she told 2 friends. You want, ideally, from a perspective of somebody using it, like LJ with math teachers. You know, his greatest thing in the world would be one math teacher, say at Clemson, goes to a teacher at Anderson or Furman or Bob Jones and goes, oh my God, there's this great app that I use and it helps, you know, all of my students are behind, okay? And then they go to a national conference and all the math teachers are talking about LJ's thing, and then LJ's like, I didn't really have to spend anything on marketing, I made a good product, and I created an incentive for people to go and be able to recruit people to use my app.
Or you can swizzle.
Or you can swizzle, there you go, okay? All right, yes, John?
I've talked to lots of entrepreneurs over time, and typically what happens is you go to breakfast with somebody and they pitch a product. And I always say, I don't really know whether your product works or not, so let's just stipulate that everything you tell me about that is precisely right. question I have is who woke up this morning and had a problem that they're willing to pay you to solve? And some percentage of entrepreneurs I talk to immediately pivot and can tell you a lot about their customers. Those are the people that I want to talk to. The rest of them have no clue, and to get back to talking about their product again, and breakfast was nice, but you know, there's no use in having another conversation. So I would encourage you, you know, whatever you're doing, get it out in front of a customer as fast as possible. You told me this morning, with Tax Titan, you have a CPA firm, they want to sell it, the buyer only wants to buy 60% of their client base, and they've got to do something with the other 40. You didn't tell me exactly how you're going to help them, but I know what the problem is, right? I mean, they have this clear problem, we all get it, you know, now how you solve that problem. So I just encourage you to get to that customer just as fast as you can, because that really, at the end of the day, is what's going to make you successful.
True. And from John's perspective, so you have the breakfast with somebody like John. So you've decided, you know what, I'm bootstrapping, that's fine, now I'm going to actually try to get some outside money. The first stage you're usually going to get, or what is commonly referred to as angel investors. When I heard this term, I was like, what, God's going to descend down and write me a check? They're like, no, angel investors are usually writing checks $5, $10, $15, $20,000. This is outside of your friends and family, okay? Now, your friends and family may also be angel investors, okay? But when I use the term angel investors, these are people that you do not know, that you're like, John, you're like, hey, love to take you out to lunch. I hear that you make investments. You know, like William that I met, you know, he literally came to an event that I was hosting, and he was like, hey, I'm interested in what you're doing at Tax Titans. I'm an angel investor. I'm like, okay, great. So you talk to an angel investor, and kind of like John was saying, I've proven the product, I've proven that I know the customer. They're like, okay, great, send me the performance statement, the things that we talked about earlier. And they go to you, okay, I'm interested in writing you a check. This is where I see a lot of founders, people I've gotten to know over the last 3 years, start tripping all over themselves, okay? I put this from the aspect of like dating, okay? People in high school are trying to have a date, they're trying to get somebody to go out with them, and they've got their pitch, and finally the person says, yes, I'll go out with you. And you're like, oh my God, what do I do? What do I wear? Where do we go? What movie are we going to see? So on and so forth. And then it just all starts to fall apart, okay? Same thing here. Someone says to you, I'm interested in your idea, I believe in you, I got $10,000 sitting in a bank account, how would you like to take that check? Okay? And don't say small bills of like hundreds. Okay, so then you're like, okay, you know, would you prefer to do safe agreement, convertible note? Okay, again, 3 years ago, people were like, you want safe agreements? I'm like, safe agreement. Are you going to put it in the safety deposit box? What the hell is a safe agreement? Okay, safe agreement stands for simple agreement for future equity. Okay, and I will not name the law firms here in Greenville. Okay, but there are ones when I said safe agreements during certain things in court proceedings, they were like, what is a safe agreement? I'm like, it's not, because when someone writes you that check, they wind up, if they have a safe agreement or convertible note, they're a liability in your company. They technically at that point in time don't have any ownership of your company as of yet. Okay? They're saying that based on that agreement at some certain point it will convert and then it will become equity. Which is why when we were talking about C Corps and stuff like that, that's what they're looking for. That ability, because they're a C Corp, is something that they're looking to have in that safe agreement, in that convertible note, that's going to allow them to make that jump. If it's just an LLC, they're sitting there going, there's a whole lot of other things that have to happen before I would get that, so they wouldn't want to do that. So, yes?
Is that a revenue threshold, or is that
That's
over time?
So, a safe agreement, just to put it very quickly, is a very low obligation, very fast way to get money into a startup. It was created by Y Combinator years ago when they were still an incubator kind of like we are. They're a bigger accelerator now. It is generally the first time you issue equity, the first time that you issue shares after having taken the safe note. you will issue shares to all of the people with savings. Then you're not, it's not in most safe notes that is required, but that's generally how everyone does it. So yes, but if you're a C Corp, then you have the ability to just be like, new shares exist, and they do, right? So the first time you do that, you would give some of those shares to all your safe note holders. Yeah.
Yep. And then convertible note, okay, that's kind of the next step up. That goes, hey, I have an option, and the option can be either from the founder or from the person lending you the money, the investor, to say at a certain amount of time, based on a certain amount of interest, I have options. I can get my money back like it was a loan and take interest out on it, or I can convert it over to shares, and I own equity in the company, okay? Certain people who write checks will want to do convertible note, certain ones will do safes, and certain ones don't do either or.
And to your point, the convertible note is usually on a timer. So it will usually have 18 months, 24 months, some time that it says you need to close a round and either issue shares or give me my money back with interest, which you probably don't want to do. And most of the time, the investor wants the equity, not the money.
Now, the hardest thing about raising money, in my opinion, is nobody in this room has got a Rolodex of 150 contacts of people that are going to be able to write a check.
Half the people don't even know what a Rolodex is.
Gotcha.
That is true too.
Right. So from that aspect, the other thing is understanding and finding the people who know your industry. Okay, John and I were having a conversation earlier this morning, and he was like, look, if you're not pitching somebody that understands your industry, the problem that you're solving, 99% of the time, they're not going to write you a check. I know this firsthand because I would go talk to people about the tax and the accounting industry. After I was 3 seconds into my pitch and their eyes started rolling in the back of the head because I was boring them to death. And then the next 3 minutes where they were absolutely terrified to learn that our entire accounting system in the IRS is based on literally a house of cards, trying to then go, okay, now write me a check for $3 million. They're like, yeah, no. Okay? So when you're out there and you're looking to raise the funds, you have to do enough digging, enough research, okay? And when you're talking to somebody, literally ask them this question. It will save you so much time and heartache. What types of products and industries do your company invest in? What do you as an angel investor, what are your things that you're passionate about that you would make an investment in? And if nothing that you're offering matches that, walk away. Okay? Unless you're looking for practice, to have someone tell you no, walk away. All right? Because if you're talking to people and you're like, you get all through the whole pitch and anything, and they're like, yeah, we don't invest in marketplaces, we don't invest in SaaS applications, we don't invest in this industry or that industry. Other than you got to practice your pitch, you really had no other reason to do that. Okay. Yes, sir.
Venture capital firms is a cottage industry. So the principals of the venture capital firm have gone to their institutional investors and they've said, here's our experience, here's our contact manager, and these institutional investors have invested in those principals in that VC fund. So what you need to understand is they have a business plan too. And they've told the people they raised the money from, we're going to invest in these kinds of companies. If that's not what you are, they ain't investing in you. They don't care how good your idea is. So doing that due diligence and understanding who they are and what they invest in is important. Angels are investing their own money, so that's not an issue. But to the point you said earlier, if you have to explain to your industry to an angel, you might as well go on to the next one. When we raised money for Earth Air, we had the CEO of Bilo, we had the chairman of the Sierra Leone Food Services Division, we had the CEO of PYR Monarch. We didn't have to explain food.
In order to get to $10 million, you're going to use our.
John, sorry.
But they also, the other important thing about that is they also serve as lead investors, right? Once we had the CEO of Bilo and the chairman of the Sierra Leone Food Services Division, the CEO of PYR Monarch, now a lot of doctors in town would look at them and say, well, they know what they're doing. And they kind of invested with these lead investors. So it's really important early on to get, not only are those the people who are going to write the check, but then they validate what you're doing to other people.
And that brings up a huge point, well, 1 second, is what is a lead investor, okay? I heard this with tax time, well, who's your lead? I'm like, I don't know, is there a singing group? I got a lead singer? What do you mean, who's my lead? And they're like, well, somebody that believes in your idea, that's writing that first check, that theoretically I found out from William later, I'm like, why do I need a lead? And he was like, that lead is the person doing all the due diligence, doing all the hard work, cleaning the bathroom, mopping the floor, cleaning the house, so you can have company. And I was like, oh, once you have a lead, then all the other lemmings that want to write checks go, okay, great, somebody else is the lead, they've already kicked the tires, this is actually a company, this idea works, I'll follow on. Which why going through Founder University was very important for us at Secondhand Geek, because when I get to look at somebody and go, well, Jason Calacanis made an investment, everybody else goes, well, shit, if he did the due diligence and he's writing a check, then me writing a check should be easy. Okay? So that's one of the things also that you kind of got to understand vocabulary-wise, is understanding as you go to raise money, you're going to need a lead. And the way I interpret the lead is you have basically an industry expert, somebody that
That's the key.
Yep.
I mean, that lead is validating you because the investment community knows that person is an expert.
Yep.
And if that person's decided to invest in you, it's the due diligence, but it's also just the knowledge. You know, they've provided you validation and credibility because they know what they're doing.
Absolutely. Andrew.
Yeah, I think it's often in programs like this, everybody always talks about kind of like getting it off the ground and fundraising there, but then where you see a lot of companies, maybe rough 50-60% of the companies kind of crash and burn, is when it comes to things like bridge loans, when it comes to things like quick, fast money through, you know, all of a sudden when you're 5 years in and you have VC funding, then a safe isn't really going to work to get quick, fast money anymore. So I'm curious what experience we have in the room and with you in terms of all of a sudden, you know, you're month to month and you've got plenty of profit, but your cash is running dry and you don't have that fortress anymore. You know, obviously you can look at things like bank loans and stuff, but when you have 8 different funnels of money in, it obviously gets super complicated. What have you done to kind of solve for that?
So, well, I haven't had that experience yet as far as being 5-6 years down the line. The person that could probably speak to that more would be.
Sorry, what was it again?
So once the company's 4 or 5 years down,
yeah,
and they're looking to continue to raise money and do stuff, whether it be bridge loans or conventional bank loans, so on and so forth, what have you seen in your experience that startups, I mean, they're not really startups anymore, they're 4 or 5 years down the road, but what have they done for possible financing to continue to dig down?
So there's revenue-based financing where if you have predictable revenue and you're 5 years in, a lot of times you can just borrow against that. There are lots of industries in which this is just like common, even with very mature 20, 30-year-old companies. There are bridge rounds. There are, when you are past, say, Series B, Series C, you can get in all kinds of complex financial instruments to do that kind of stuff. But
it's a good problem to have.
Yeah. But generally, like, I mean, if your company is very valuable, then you could raise a lot of money from investors without giving up much equity at all.
Yeah.
So, you know,
but I think outside of the traditional, like everybody always talks about bootstrapping to get it off the ground, but if you don't, then if there is cash in the business, then theoretically you wouldn't need the venture capital, right?
Well, yes and no. So, like, for instance, let me answer this real quick. So, we'll take tax titans, okay? I'm sitting here, I go through the first season, I've raised a little bit of pre-seed, a couple of angels, I've raised $400 grand, I put the platform together. I have maybe $3,000-$4,000 in revenue. But in order for me to scale and build my next service that's going to get me 100,000 customers, I got to go raise another 400 grand. In the raising money world, you kind of got your pre-seed, you have your seed round, and then you have your Series A. So kind of like in the question that you were asking, when I've got the idea and I'm putting it together, I'm going after my first customers, I'm doing my pre-seed round. And I'm raising from angels, friends and family, maybe some partners in the actual industry that I'm in. And that, to me, from my experience, is where you should actually go get all of your money. Find people who are in your industry that are company customers that possibly would use your service and get money from them. Okay, we've raised about almost $2 million with Tax Titans. I don't have any institutional money. It is all from partnerships with people in the accounting industry, in the tax world, people that provide services to SMBs, because like I said, I went to venture capital folks and they got confused, scared, terrified, so on and so forth. But people in the industry realized the problem that I was solving and was like, okay, I need this problem solved. I'll make an investment for you to help that.
Just this year, he got an investment from Adam Kai, who runs a competing startup. But when he heard what he was doing, he was like, well, I believe that's going to be worth $1 billion.
Yep.
Just like he thinks his company will be. And he's like, I want to be invested in both of these.
Hedge the bet.
All right, so we'll try to wrap this up real quick. And then the last thing is you get into what's called Series A, B, and that kind of stuff. So your seed round you're usually raising. Once your idea works, you're like, okay, now I want to start scaling. Okay? Once you start scaling, and as I put it, the mud sticks to the wall, okay? And now I'm like, hey, I want 50 employees, 100 employees, a building, this, that, and the other thing. Then I'm going into the Series A raises. And that's where you get institutional people that are like, okay, banks and stuff are underwriting what you're doing, so on and so forth, and you're raising the $5, $10, $20 million. So that's kind of my experience, and what everybody's been telling me is kind of the 3 stages that you go through. It's your pre-seed, kind of where you guys are now. Your seed stage, once you get launched, you have your MVP, it's working, you're getting customers. And then, okay, I'm trying to go after that $10 million, that $100 million worth of revenue. Then you get into the Series A. My belief is, if your idea is good and you know what you're doing and you put a good team together, you never raise money after Series A. Ideally, you never raise money after seed.
There are good reasons to raise money after. There are also good reasons not to. It just depends on what kind of business you're doing, what scaling thing's going to be at. Another part of it, a lot of founders raise money after Series A or B because they're sitting on paper, hundreds of millions or billions of dollars of equity, and they are living on a $250,000 a year salary, which sounds awesome already, but when you are worth $10 billion and your wife's like, hey, can we spend $10 million? You've got to sell it to somebody. That's the only way to get it. A couple of very hard and fast rules for all this stuff. Bootstrapping is everything you do before you raise money. So it's not just the money you spend, it's the sweat equity, it's the equity you give to a co-founder. Keep this in mind. If you give 50% of your company to a technical co-founder, and he doubles the value of the company, you broke even. I mean, it's worth it. So bootstrapping is everything you do before you raise. I'm not supposed to say this really because I'm an investor, but customer money, to John's point, always better than investor money. Now that I'm advising startups, if you can get customer money, take that first. Especially if you are going to raise, because the customer money makes your equity more valuable. So you'll be able to get more money for less equity. I didn't think of a third one yet. I like to do things in threes. But there are a series of like, those are just some of the very like quick, hard, and fast rules you can remember.
Yes, Elder.
Yeah, I actually have a quick question about customer money. So I'm looking for the users in the fall. I've been recommended that I should get letters of intent to be signed.
LOIs, yep.
Yeah, LOIs, preferably having like a compensation clause by the math department.
Yep.
Now, obviously, that's going to make getting this into the classroom a lot harder. Should I focus more on trying to get that LOI signed by the department, or just focus on?
I would say an LOI, if you can get them from the department, and or math teachers that are on a wait list. Because if you're looking to raise outside money, to what John's point was and what Williams is they want to see that you're talking with the customers. Okay. You're talking with the people that are going to write you a check to use your solution.
I would just say on that, because as somebody that literally just left Furman, and also someone selling to schools, LOIs in theory are great. In education, especially at the college level, it's going to take you 6 months at least to negotiate it, which is fine when you're negotiating a $50,000 contract. So if that's like the scale of the software you want to sell. But if it's going to be $25 a month per teacher thing, just get their email, get them on a wait list, because otherwise, trust me, I've wasted so much time chasing LOIs, and by the time it gets to their school's legal department, you've already lost them.
Yeah, LOIs are a great way to show traction to investors. They are not binding contracts. People have a harder time walking away from that than they do just a handshake. But they can, with no repercussions whatsoever.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap up for the day, but the thing that I want you to walk away from today's session is here in Greenville, okay, between John, William, my experience that I've had, we have the knowledge to help you. I don't want you to think, hey, I'm in Greenville, I don't know and I don't have any resources to help me raise money, know how much money I can raise. There are amazing people in this city that have the knowledge, that have the connections, okay? And you guys are the first class to be able to facilitate that, use that, expand it, kind of like Charles Edwards that was here last week, who's somebody's mentor in the group, runs the New York Angels, okay? Same thing. His whole thing last week after being here is like, oh my God, I finally have a pipeline to tell all these people in New York City that have money, that want to invest in things in South Carolina, I've got an outlet. You guys are that outlet. And our goal at the Launchpad is to make sure that we cultivate and we bring more and more of those relationships in. William's right now working with Hustle Fund, which is one of the largest angel networks probably in the world, if not the United States.
So they have an actual fund with over $100 million, but then they have an angel network that's over 1,000 people. And another good point from all the people here, they are not industry specific, they are investing in a certain type of founder. And Jason Calacanis is similar to that too. There are industries he stays away from, but for the most part, he looks at the founder and he says, can this guy drag this company to the finish line or not?
So leaving here today, if you've got other questions, things come up, Lee is your point of contact. She is at the Launchpad, she is there. Schedule a time, come in to see her, schedule a time with me, with William, any of the other partners on there. And if we don't have the answer, we'll get it for you, okay? Because if you have a question and we don't have the answer, getting that answer helps us as well as helping you. All right, thank you everybody. So homework for next week is what? Performance statements, okay? Yes, trust me, of all the people in the world that hate spreadsheets and performance, I'm the recovering accountant. I can't stand it, but it is absolutely necessary. Thanks,
To help
everybody.
with that, there are some companies that do excellent work helping start with Proforma. One called Proforma, actually. I think they have a free trial, right?
They have a free trial, and
It's awesome.
the guy that used to be at RevTech Labs is actually working.
Yeah, I bet. Well, we've both met a bunch of people, and they're actually excellent work.
I haven't looked at it, but